Your king in the face of AK-47.
No, 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 nothing will happen.
Now, food to fete.
Oba Bini, sorry,
Oh,
my
food to
tradition.
fete.
Oba
I'm
Tokpe,
sorry for
he
you.
said, I
Sorry,
love my
see,
Bini people.
mind you, the first king in the whole of Nigeria, the number one king is Oni of Ife.
No, 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 no. I disagree with
he can track his
I
origin
disagree
to
with you.
Odudua.
The
So
Oba,
you have to
the
know
only
that.
Oba they respect for the whole world is Oba Bini. That's Oba Bini.
But that's not for
Oba Tokpe, he
the
said.
Oba of Benin, they have their burial ground in Ife. It's still there.
They should choose another day for that conversation.
No, setting the record straight should not be delayed. And I think it's only fair for me to come here and point it out. The Oba of Benin traces its origin back to the Ife. The first Obas, the initial Obas, they used to be buried right in the garden of Oromio in Ile-Ife. Do you get? So no issue, no argument for that. We don't pray and we don't hope for our monarchs to be tested by all these blood-sucking demons called Fulani jihadists. We don't want that. But it is important for the Nigerian government to protect them because these guys are first-class citizens, right? We had a situation whereby the former general surprisingly didn't have a backup means to protect himself. It's a surprise. I think it's a shame. It's an indictment of the Nigerian army because as a retired general, you're supposed to have at least some ammunition in your custody. I think it is enough because my foster dad was a custom officer. When he retired, he still had a gun. He had I think, what's it called? He had a shotgun. All right. So we used to play with it when we were younger. So I mean, it's unfortunate that he was attacked. Probably was caught pants down. Who knows? But then
should the Obas rely on the government's protection?
Well,
Here are the gods.
Listen, the monarchs have been subjected to the powers of the governors because the governors are the ones now that even approve them. All right, it doesn't matter how high class you are as a king, the governor of your state or even the president can dethrone you because in the Nigerian constitution, the Obas are below the governors. So that is enough. So culturally, we might just give them that respect. But in terms of administrative purposes, constitutionally, these guys are below the governors. All right. So, and you should understand that our African science didn't prevent us from being colonized. All right. If we come here and say that our kings were powerful, why did the whites come down here and enslave us? They didn't enslave one or two. They enslaved us in multitude. They took thousands and millions of Africans across Africa down to Benin Republic, to Ghana, to Togo. These are people who practice what we call voodoo. Voodoo, they call it voodoo. Do you know that the cradle of voodoo in West Africa is in Benin Republic? That it stresses its way back to Ile-Ife. They practice what we call juju, right? You see them practicing juju real life. But the whites still colonize us. So forget about this voodoo. I think our monarchs should be protected. But more importantly, all the northern borders that we share with Southwest, with the North, down to Southeast, down to South, all these places should be combed because the Fulani jihadists, they have occupied the forest. I said something. I said the real Fulanis are born warriors. The real Fulanis are nomadic. The real Fulanis are not materialistic. That is who they are. A real Fulani was born to come into this world and just to advance that ideology of Usman Danfodio, which is just keep going, spread Islam, conquer them, and that's it. When you conquer them, they ensure that you multiply, you have your children will take over, and then you continue. Until the Nigerian government can rise up to have that coercive power by first and foremost tackling the Sharia law that we have in the Nigerian constitution. Today, we have some states that they don't practice Nigerian constitution. What they practice is Sharia law. About 12 states. And these 12 states are states that are closer to the capital of Fulani, which is in Burkina Faso. They call that place is in MAO or BA, I don't remember. This was the capital base of Usman Danfodio those days. And that is, then the nearest place to that place is the Caliphate, the Sokoto Caliphate. In Sokoto today, the Sharia law holds ahead of the Nigerian constitution. They will tell you that in Sokoto, if you blaspheme, they will kill you, and the Nigerian constitution would do nothing. This is why you saw that Deborah was killed. Deborah was killed. A Matthew Kuka, you will never see him go out there and say things that will incite he has been calculating with his speeches. Do you understand? So it's a shame that in Nigeria we have two sides of the law. All right, and I think it's an indictment on we the Southerners, the whole of the Southerners. We cannot unite ourselves, and these guys are only progressing because the Southerners are not united. If the Yorubas and the Igbos, the Ibibios, the Nupes, the Gwaris, if all of us can come together, we would outrun the Fulanis in the National Assembly. But today, the National Assembly, it seems the Fulanis are always the most powerful. They always seem to be the most vocal. Look at Aline Dume. A senator has been pointed to be a financier. A senator, the guy that went head to head with Senator Akpabio, I don't want to mention his name, but if you have been following the National Assembly politics, you know the person I'm talking about. A former governor of Zamfara State. He has been pointed that he is a major financier of who? Of banditry. And it was shortly he left Zamfara that this issue started going on. And this man is confirmed to have a gold shop in Dubai. And don't forget what Zamfara is known for. Gold. All right, so that is why Dele Alake came and said that the people in charge of Zamfara banditry are our political juggernauts. These are powerful people, but they are all scared. And then I look at it that why are we scared? Because the South is divided. Ordinarily, if I have seen my Igbo brother or my Igbo brother right from the South, we're supposed to protect ourselves, but we don't. So we fragment ourselves while the Fulanis has been able to what? Occupy the whole of the North and make them to be convergent. So they speak in one voice. You see, Alindume said that I'm speaking for my northern brothers. He said lie, but anyways, they follow them. They follow them.
You know that they carry this politics.
The reason why you see that people saying that Shetima, meanwhile Shetima is not a Fulani, but they say that Shetima is speaking for the Fulani. It's because the Fulanis have been able to conquer them. The Fulanis conquered the El Kanemi Empire. They conquered them. In Niger today, Niger is not a Fulani state. Niger state is a Gwari state, but today is a Fulani man that is the governor. So it's a wake-up call for us in the West and the whole of the South. We need to wake up. We need to come together. But I know it's difficult, but we need to.
This is a fight Sunday Igboho was fighting before.
Yeah, you see.
Don't you think he needs to be invited to fight this war again? Because these guys have infiltrated everywhere.
Listen. The Yorubas didn't even support Igboho. That's the truth. The Yorubas never supported Igboho. It was the same Yorubas that sold Igboho out. All right, so I just hope the Yorubas will not learn the lesson in a hard way. All right, yes, we can see what is going on. We have accommodated the Fulanis more than any other region in the South. Let me tell you, my own village, today the Fulanis can overrun it. You know, I told you I'm from Shaki. The Shaki shares a border with Okeogun down to southern Ilorin. So there are some Fulanis in Shaki that speaks as good Yoruba as I speak. We have some areas that if I am traveling to my village in Shaki, that area, the whole population is 98% Fulanis. You understand my point? So there's nothing wrong in that. That you accommodate people, there's nothing wrong in it. But we need to now understand that these guys have always had a sinister, agenda. All right? We should know that. So, and I hope it's not going to happen because it's going to be a bloody fight.
You didn't watch yesterday's match?
Okay, you see, Nigerian Super Eagles, I think they under-promise, but I think they are over-delivering now. And I think, unashamedly, I think I need to say that, well, I'm impressed. I've always said that I didn't like what they were doing, but I think I'm impressed now. But I think some key players still need to stand up to that level people place them. People like Osimhen, people call him the golden boy, the magician. But Osimhen has been terrible. Can you even imagine the Chukwueze, who is so critical and vital for AC Milan? He's not even playing 45 minutes stable. Simply because Chukwueze has not found his footing. It seems Chukwueze lost his mojo. Nobody understands what Chukwueze is doing. It is a Moses Simon that is benching him. At par, when you compare them at par, Chukwueze is above Moses Simon. But in the Super Eagles, Chukwueze has lost his voice. So they need to rise up. Because I think we are now getting to the real, crux of the matter. Hopefully, we are praying that South Africa should not qualify. Okay, we are praying. But then if they qualify, if we beat South Africa, we know how South Africans behave. They are not matured. They are not as gracious as Angola. South Africa will end up to start, maltreating our boys in South Africa. That's what they are known for. That's what they'll do. Because Nigerians, our mouth too sharp. If we beat South Africa now, we'll go begin yap them. And before you know it, South Africa will start beating our boys.
No problem.
So I would rather want them to just get disqualified by Cape Verde. Because I know who Nigerians are. When we beat Ghana, we know what we did to Ghana. We know what Ghana is still facing right till now. Get my point? But I think I'm impressed. But I think we can still even do more. Then one other thing, I think one of the highlights of yesterday's match was Peter Obi. I am being apolitical here. I think Peter Obi is doing something nice, fantastic. I'm not a fan of him, but I think Peter Obi is advancing our democracy. He's advancing our democracy. He's making it that politicians must be on ground. Look at Atiku. You can see that Atiku has been exposed. People are not saying, oh, Atiku, this guy has always been exposed. Oh, this guy now, I'm robber. That is one thing Peter Obi is doing. He's showing us how terrible an Atiku has always been as a politician. Atiku is not a leader. Atiku does not love this nation. I can tell you that Obi loves this country 100 times ahead of Atiku. And that's a known fact now. It has been demonstrated and people can see it. Do you get my point? So I think for Peter Obi to go there, after all, everything is for the betterment of the country. No one individual is greater than this country. So it doesn't matter if Tinubu was there or not. One person that is revered in the country. Because, of course, considerable amount of people revere Peter Obi. Okay? So he went there, and he one way or the other, morally, he boosted he re-energized our players. And in fact, our fans cuddled with him. And we came up with, a good point. If we had lost yesterday, the story would have been different. I've forgotten here now the abuser, but then we won. And thank you.
All right, thank you. That was a brilliant contribution. Morning, Matthew Oluku.
Good morning, Michael Adekunle.
All right, you're welcome aboard. All right, Saturday edition of this program. How is the weekend going?
We thank the living God.
Right. Did you also watch the match?
I'm not a fan of football.
Oh, you're not a football enthusiast. Why?
I don't watch. It's personal. It's not because
Tell us the reason.
no. The issue is if I watch and Nigeria loses, it might affect me emotionally. So I decided to avoid it. It's something I developed over time. We have discovered that if I am involved in watching football and I pick interest in a team and they lose, it affects me emotionally. So
that's why you don't.
So I decided to abstain from it.
Okay. That's why Matthew is not showing interest. Quickly to politics. I know you love politics. You love discussing politics.
It's something we like having conversation about.
All right. The incessant killing by these Fulani herders. Don't you think if we are not careful, it might plunge us into tribal clash?
The issue is tribal clash with who? The Fulanis are in minority if the government is ready to do the needful. But I think from what I've said is here that Tinubu should do things differently. I think I'm beginning to see him doing things differently in some area. Contrary to impression out there, we have seen where somebody was raising an issue that if they do not release the chairman of Mietiala, that they will go to court to enforce his fundamental human rights. So even as DSS have come out to deny that the man was not arrested, it appears as if he will have been taken into custody by DSS as a result of the unguided approach of going ahead to establish that security outfit that he says is going to manage security in the whole of a state, and that they hope that they are going to recruit more to manage the security of the country at large. So from what we are seeing, it appears as if the man is actually arrested. And if that is true, I encourage the government, the security agencies to do more. The Fulanis are in minority. They're only doing what they are doing because the government is not having the political will to address their excesses. They are not more formidable than the armed forces. The government, the police, the army, the navy, the air force have comparative advantage over the Fulani herdsmen or even over any non-state actor for that matter. So it's not true to say that they will overrun Nigerian security agencies if you go out or out for them. The only thing we are not seeing before now is the whip out on the part of government to address their excesses. They are in the minority, if you ask me. Look at almost even all the states where their excesses are being recorded. I'm talking about Plateau, Benue, maybe Kaduna. Do you think a Fulani man is the governor in those states? Or do you think if the Fulani are in the majority, a Fulani man will not be governor in those states? So they are in the minority. If they are in the majority, Fulani man would have been governor in Benue State. A Fulani man would have been governor in Plateau, in Kaduna, and so on. I think the only place they may be much in number is Bauchi. Because the Bauchi state governor one time said that the Fulani constitute about 70% of that of population in that state. So perhaps that is their own ancestral home. So nobody's saying if they are Nigerians that they do not have right to move around like every other Nigerian as entrenched in the constitution. But as you do that, you must conform yourself to the rule of law. You must not do things. How can you, as a Fulani man, be moving around with AK-47 and the Bauchi governor will tell us that the Fulani man is a global citizen, that have right to move around with arms, that he do that to protect his cow, cattle, or whatever? It's unacceptable. And the armed forces, the police, the army should urgently disarm all the Fulani herders in the bush. Because if the police, the government is telling us, Nigerians, that we should not be armed, that we should surrender our sovereignty to the government, that the police, the army, the navy, name it, will protect us. Why can't you tell the Fulani the same thing? Why do you allow them to move around freely with arms? So, to answer your question directly, Fulani are in the minority. They do not have the capacity to overrun anywhere in Nigeria if the government is serious.
All right, there's a fresh bid to rescue Naira from its present state, and the likes of Wale Edun Kadoso of the CBN, the EFCC chairman, who be holding a meeting to make sure something meaningful is done to this consistent form of Naira. What do you feel should be discussed there? And do you think this will go a long way in rescuing Naira out of its present state?
Let me quickly tell you that we have said it often and often that the crisis Naira is having is the government policy of unification of Naira at the official window. The government have acknowledged that as a result of that policy, they will be earning additional 4 trillion Naira at the end of the year. And this they are expecting to earn every year. But let me quickly tell you that this is not the first time the government under this leadership will be thinking of solution. Let me quickly tell you that the government before now have borrowed $3 billion to see whether they can inject liquidity into dollar liquidity into our economy, and that have not been able to address it. There's another crude for is a deal they hope to use crude to pay. I think with the Exim Bank or so, that it has to do with $10 billion. I think our government has started receiving it. I don't know whether they are at the last count, whether they have received all the amount. But let me quickly tell you that all this we are seeing is temporary, is cosmetic. The only sure way of crashing dollar is to export and earn foreign exchange. The volume of what you export determines what you earn. Even the other thing they are saying, I don't know whether it's rumor or the government is serious about it, that they hope to convert all money in people's domiciliary account to Naira with an exchange rate that may be determined by CBN. I don't know whether that one is true, but even at that, the solution is going to be temporary, because the amount in people's domiciliary account have been estimated to be $30 billion. So if you exhaust that, you go back to the status quo. The only thing that is sustainable is continue producing and exporting and start earning foreign exchange. Now that the government is saying these two subsidy of forest unification and the removal of fuel subsidy, they say from the removal of fuel subsidy, they'll be getting 4 trillion at the end of the year. From the Naira policy, they'll be getting another 4 trillion, which is 8 trillion. Why don't you use this money to diversify the economy into agriculture, into solid mineral, so that we start seeing other area of export to and foreign exchange? That's the only way out of this quagmire. Anything you are doing is cosmetic, it's not sustainable, it's temporary. It can come with little adjustment, little exchange rate variation. But if you exhaust that money you are injecting, you go back to the status quo. And another, if you are even looking at that money in people's domiciliary account, look at all the governors, all the politicians. I think they are the greatest, they should be the greatest beneficiary of that unfortunate saving. Because what most of them do is, by the time they embezzle state fund, they go and hide it in domiciliary accounts. And it continues like that. So whatever government is doing that is temporary, they should look at the long term that is sustainable. What is sustainable is produce and export. Diversify the economy so that you can have enough to produce and export from other areas, because we are operating on a mono economy. Let us shift attention from oil. Let us have production from agriculture, export to foreign exchange. Let us see what we can get from solid mineral, export to foreign exchange. Those are the areas you can diversify the economy that will give a sustainable exchange rate that will be favorable to Naira.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Brilliant one.